Yeah, stickers. All my stickers are in my drawers. Well, in my drawers. That sounds like my pants.
Taking your fanboyism to a new level.
Yep.
Hello and welcome back to Basic AF. Tom Anderson and Jeff Battersby together, basking in the glory of the Apple event. And we're not going to let the complainers whining about the Apple ad dull our shine today, baby. That ain't going to happen. We got a show to do. And we're going to start with that. But before we get into it, Jeff, how are you, sir?
I'm all right, man. I'm always happy to be, back in Jeffrey Dahmer's basement with Oscar the Grouch in his trash can.
Did you get a new camera?
No, why does it look better?
Yeah, you look a little crisp today.
I do well.
Yeah, looking good.
iPhone hanging on my my display.
Yeah, that usually gives you a pretty good picture. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about the Apple event, and but before we get into that, we have a new way for you to contact us if you would like to do that.
What is it, Tom?
So if you have feedback or a question, comment, complaint, whatever it is, in the episode description, there will be a link, question or contact. Well, let's try that again. Question or comment, send us a text message is what it says. And when you tap on that, it will go into the messages app and you can send us a text message. We don't yet have a way to reply, so don't be offended if you send us something and we don't get back to you. But we can read those on the show, give you a shout out. We'd be happy to do that, unless it's I don't know, love note from Jeff to me. We'll keep that private.
You can throw your email address in the in that response to us. So if you do that, we can respond to you via email. But as Tom says, presently there's no way for us to respond back to you directly. But we're really excited to be able to have you do that. Feel free to text us and tell us what dorks you think we are.
And we did want to distress that there's no way for us to do that. We don't want you to think that we're just going to ignore you. So if you do, well, if you want us to contact you, like Jeff said, give us an email address or something, and we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I ignore Tom, but we won't ignore
Well, most people do, and I'm okay with that. They probably should, because it's usually just craziness anyway.
Of course.
All right, so just this past week, Tuesday, we had the Apple event with new iPads, about 35 minutes in their now typical style of, cutscenes all across Apple Park in the Bay Area, blah, blah, blah. And so we did that before. I mentioned there in the open, teasing a little bit, having a little fun, that there was a little blowback, and I don't want to spend a bunch of time on it, but the ad that kind of led the open to this, with the hydraulic press kind of compressing a whole bunch of things down into a super thin iPad.
Compressing being not necessarily what it did. It did compress it.
It did.
It also destroyed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, which I think all that was CGI, but
yeah.
So, but anyway.
So there was blowback from that. And it's funny. When I saw that in the presentation, which, by the way, I will say I was very surprised that it was so early. My time here was 10 a.m. New York time rather than the usual 10 a.m. California time. But when I saw that, I was a little ambivalent. It was like, oh, really? We're going to crush all this stuff? Cool. So and that was really the complaint that people had. And as Tom said, we'll touch this briefly, but the complaint was, we're destroying all this creative stuff to, and giving you an iPad instead. I get it. I wasn't in love with the ad. I think had they done something like, dropped all those devices, into a big compressor and squeezed it into the iPad, it might have been a little different. The idea of crushing all those things was, I don't know, a little dumb. And it appears that, and whether or not Apple had ever seen this, I don't know, but there was was it LG or was it another?
Yeah.
LG did an ad a few years ago with a different device that was basically the same thing. I mean, including, paint spilling and lenses cracking. So I don't know, marketing team, needs to up their game at Apple, I think.
Yeah. So anyway.
All right. I know you're happy, Tom, because it pissed off the Hollywood elites. So.
Well, yes. Pretentious.
Caught you, pal.
Yeah. Well, it kind of made me chuckle when at least on the story I saw about it, like the first person they had in the comments was Hugh Grant. And I'm like, okay. So, and I think it's because it's Apple. It was right after the event, and it got a bunch of clicks. So it was blown out of proportion, of course. Yeah. But they also said they wouldn't be putting stickers in the boxes anymore, which, is what it is. Stickers have been in there forever. I haven't put a sticker on something, and I couldn't tell you how long. Only rub I had with that is they said, well, it's for the environment, man. And I was like, okay. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more.
Yes,
we get through the show. Yeah. So anyway, no more stickers.
Yeah, stickers. All my stickers are in my drawers. In my drawers. It sounds like my pants. They're not in my pants. Or did it slip? I don't know.
Taking your fanboyism to a new level.
Yep. Okay.
All right. On to the next topic
TMI.
here. Onward. So speaking of the event,
Yes,
for the first time in a long time, we had iPad updates. I think it'd been over a year since they'd updated any of the iPads. And so let's start. We'll kind of do it in order that they did. We'll start with iPad Air, Jeff.
Yeah, so we got a new iPad Air, a couple of sizes. We got now an 11-inch and a 13-inch. 11-inch starts at $599, and the 13 starts at $799. Both with the N2 chip, which, by the way, is plenty juicy enough to do anything you need to do. So, comes in sizes from 128 gigs through 1 terabyte of storage, which is a ton of storage, I would say, on an iPad. Also 256 and 512 gigabyte models, and available in a couple of different colors, which I know you're not thrilled with. We've got space gray, starlight, purple, and blue. I like the purple one in there. It's kind of fun, but they're all of the new dull, barely can tell that it's a colors. So that's a little interesting as far as that goes. And other add, and this is pretty big, is that we now have a 12 megapixel landscape front camera. So that's an about time feature, or as is often said, finally, as a landscape camera. I confess that 95% of the time when I'm using an iPad, it's in landscape mode.
Me too.
So this is the right call for sure, and happy to have that. It has what they call landscape stereo audio, which iPads, the sound coming out of those things has been great for some time now. Really good quality, and so it comes with upgraded Wi-Fi. It has 5G if you get the cellular model. The one kind of downside, and somebody said that this has to do with the electronics on the particular iPad Air, but it's still Touch ID. So
I was going to mention that too.
See, I knew it. So go ahead, Oscar the Grouch. Complain.
I've been grouchy this week.
Yeah, you have.
But I'm not going to be grouchy today.
Sure you are.
It's the weekend. I can't be grouchy on Saturdays. And I slept pretty well last night. So.
Oh, well, good for you. I did, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. And so I guess at this point, the iPad mini, the iPad 10th gen, and this one have Touch ID.
Yes.
I had an iPad mini for a while, the 6th gen that has the Touch ID and the button up on the top. And it worked okay. It just seems to me in 2024, it's time to not do that.
Everything should be Face ID.
I like Face ID. Now, I know some people don't, and they prefer Touch ID. And maybe Apple's got some, customer information feedback that's driving them down this way too. And then they can say, well, if you want Touch ID, just get that one. But if you want, Yeah. So I don't know how they really determine these things. But yeah, I think that would be nice to get rid of. The cynical part of me says it's probably cheaper for them to do that, so they'll eke out a few more pennies to leave Touch ID on it.
Yeah, and I did hear that there's something about the electronics. It doesn't seem like it should be like it fit it on a phone. So
Right.
you'd think that they could do it. So my guess is what your guess is, that it allows them to leave the profit margins a little higher and the price point a little lower for those things.
And if you really want it, just a few $100s more, you can get into iPad Pro.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about that in a second.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, you mentioned those colors. I just wish they were a little more fun. And I know if you go down to the 10th generation, they have the brighter colors. So you know how the iMac kind of has two different colors on it? Like it's got the flashy side and then more of a muted side. It's like they couldn't decide on the iPad. So they said, okay, well, you're the front side of the iMac and you're the back side of the iMac. But I'm looking at that image from the event. So that bento box where they show the features and everything. And you look at that one that says 4 colors and those 2 in the middle, looking at them from 2 feet away now, like I couldn't tell you what they are. I think the one second from the left is purple. But
second from the left is purple, but it's
not much different than
it is a
Starlight,
very vague
that is.
purple.
Yeah. But once you slap it in a case anyway, you can't really see it. Or that keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we'll talk about the keyboards and stuff here in a little bit. All right,
but nice offerings though. Nice to see that. Nice to have iPad Airs with.
Yeah.
And frankly, as is the case with the MacBook Air, for the majority of people, this is the ticket. I think this is this is a sweet spot, especially now since there's a 13-inch model.
Yes.
That puts that right where it belongs. I think.
Yeah. Prior, you had to spend way more money to get a 13.
Yeah,
to get you had to go up to the Pro, which is a lot more. So glad to see that, and I think that helps the product line a little bit because it had been a mess, and it's better now, I think, than it was.
Better-ish.
Yeah, better-ish. All right, so they have also, Jeff, introduced the thinnest Apple product ever. Thought it was kind of funny when they showed it. They put the old iPad Nano next to it, right. So that was a throwback. And it had
thinner than the Nano.
And it had brighter colors, by the way.
Yes.
Yes. So iPad Pro. What do we have for the Pro model now?
So 11 and 13 inches. Same kind of options there. M4 chip. And this is the first device that we're seeing an M4 in, which the back end Apple talk is that there's going to be some AI. There are going to be some AI features in this that on chip. AI
they mentioned AI even more in this presentation than they have.
Yeah. And they have been pretty quiet about it in the past. And we all know Siri's not AI.
Well, apparently Apple execs just figured that out last year. Did you see that? New York Times said Craig Federighi and what's the AI guy they brought from Google, John somebody, were testing ChatGPT last year. Yeah. Last year, mind you. And that led them to realize Siri felt antiquated.
Yeah. Well, and one of my brothers, I think it was yesterday, was using Siri to send something. Of course, he's trying to crack some joke on it. And Siri jacked up the joke. And he's asking me like I have some power over this. Well, how come Apple doesn't get this right?
What do you want me to do?
We've been bitching about Siri here for about 100 years.
Yeah, so. And so that I read that article and I sent it to you and Gannon, and I was like, I don't know. They said they just realized. I mean, they had to know. But then you go a little bit farther, like in the second paragraph, and that's where it said, it made them realize Siri was antiquated. And I'm like,
oh, good for them.
I'm like, I got it. That can't be true. They had to know this.
They're using it, aren't they?
Right. You would think. And so my suspicion is they have known it, it hasn't necessarily been a priority. And I do think they got caught somewhat flat-footed with the generative AI, rush we've seen here in the last 18, 24 months, and they're trying to catch up. And I think that's kind of reflective. Mark Gurman did another story yesterday, and it's kind of rehashing some of these done, but that it sounds like Apple's very close to signing an agreement with OpenAI to use ChatGPT with some of their stuff, which says to me too that, yeah, we're trying to catch up here.
Yeah, that says.
So anyway, we digress.
Yes, we do. So this has also, in addition to the M4 chip, something called a tandem OLED display. We kind of knew that OLED displays were going to be coming out. That was a thing that was going to be taking place. And according to what we saw in the presentation, OLED maybe not quite as bright as they wanted it to be, and able to do the kind of color scheme that they wanted it to be. So Apple invented tandem OLED display engine, which basically means an OLED display on top of an OLED display that allows for much brighter display and higher quality.
Yeah, I think they said 1,000 nits when you're HDR stuff.
Yeah, so pretty crazy.
Which should be fun if you're using that thing in your bed, right? The room's dark and you hit some random HDR content on Instagram or something, and it'll blind you. So yeah, that ought to be good.
Yeah. Woo. Can't see for the next 3 days. It's like looking at a solar eclipse with no glasses on. So that's kind of interesting. It does require to be able to drive that. That's one of the features of the M4 chip, is that chip is able to handle that. We have the option of a nano texture display, and we'll get into that in a little bit too when we start talking about how much these crazy things cost. And what you have to do to be able to get that. But that's a nice feature that you do get a nano texture display. That is what I have on my Apple Studio display upstairs, and it's great. Other than the cleaning it part is, to say problematic. I feel like I'm polishing silver back in the old days. That's what it feels like, getting every little. I don't know. I think I need to wear a mask when I'm using that upstairs, because if I'm speaking to anybody and spitting, as one does when one speaks, it ends up, when the screen's off, it looks like a splatter test.
Oh God!
Yeah, right.
You're full of great visuals today.
I'm nothing if not creatively capable of explaining what it is that I think I see. But that is a nice feature. The cleaning of it, I think, is going to drive some people crazy. But it is the reflective, or the lack of reflection off of those things, is amazing. It really is. And I would suspect that unlike the covers that we both have on our current iPad Pros, which I love, you're not going to have the brightness of the display gets faded by those covers that we've put on.
Right.
But this is not going to do that. This is going to be utterly brilliant. Also, landscape front camera. So again, we've done that here. And then this one comes in 256 gigabyte, 512 gigabyte, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabyte options. Those nano texture displays only available on the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models. So you have to fork out some significant pocket change to be able to get this. Battery life remains the same. So 10 hours is the battery life, which is interesting. You did say shortly after the event ended that it might have been nice if they kept it the same thickness and made the battery life a little longer. Thin. We saw how that worked out for supermodels. Not so great. So there I am with the visuals.
Man, we're on our game this morning.
Yes.
Must be that solar flare and all that.
Right.
Extra
I did
energy
try
in
to
the
stay
air.
up. I stayed up until about 2 a.m. last night trying to see the Aurora Borealis. I got a really nice photos of the stars, but I think I was a little too late. We had a show last night.
Yeah, we had heavy cloud coverage, so we may have a chance again tonight. So we're going to take another look. Another gander. Yeah. I mentioned that with the battery. I just don't know how many people say, man, I wish this iPad was just, 0.4 of a millimeter thinner or whatever it was. But I think everyone would appreciate another hour or two of battery life. But, and all trade-offs. Then I saw some renders people did too, that if they kept it the same thickness and condensed everything else, then maybe they could have even gotten rid of that stupid camera bump. But, and again, I prefaced that even when I posted it on Threads, I prefaced that, I might feel different once I get my hands on one and be like, wow, this really is noticeably different. And something that you appreciate. I do wonder too, and when I first got mine years back of that new design, that, Bend-A-Gate, they're so thin, they bend. And and I have seen some that have warped a little bit. And I think, but, whatever.
Yeah.
But cue that rage. That'll be next weekend's rage. So that's coming up. So just get ready for that.
Right. Somebody's going to put it in the seat of their car and sit on it.
Yeah. And somebody will do it just to get, karma on Reddit or something. And then, they'll be on YouTube and everything. So just prepare yourself for that if you even care. Performance-wise, though, the M4 did have a big jump, 50% faster CPU than M2, which was the previous model. So that's pretty big. 4 times faster GPU than M2. And then they mentioned the neural engine, 38 trillion ops a second. I saw somewhere Microsoft considered 40 trillion to be kind of their standard for like qualifying a PC as an AI PC or something. So that's right in the ballpark. So you can see where all this is heading. Colors, same old boring colors. Although I guess it's space black now is the one they have, not just space gray.
Which I do like that. That's a pretty nice color. In fact, that's the same one that they're doing with the MacBook Air too, right? Is that the or is it the MacBook Pro? Right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a I like that option.
Yeah, I think
like my BMW's black, and I like my my computer's black, although everything I have is silver because you had to pay extra. Space gray, sorry.
Yeah, space gray. Let's see. Although they did not update it, the iPad 10th generation got a price drop down to $349, which I think before was $429, I think it was. So that's a nice little drop for that one. I suspect we'll start to get those at work for students. The iPad 9th generation off the store, but is still available direct to education. So
okay. So and what does that cost for education?
I'm not sure. It was $329.
Okay.
But I don't know what it would be now. It might still be the same.
Got it.
But didn't see any pricing on that one. Okay, so we have covered iPad Air, iPad Pro. Now let's get to the accessories.
Okay. Magic keyboard for iPad Pro.
Yes.
Aluminum palm rest. Glass trackpad that's larger than the previous version, which by the way, I have the Magic Keyboard. I love that thing, really do. We've added a function row with an escape key. So it's now more equivalent to what you would find on your MacBook Pro or your MacBook Air, any of those things. So it's pretty much the same size. It comes in a white or black. It's only for the new iPad Pro. So you not something you can get for one of the previous versions. It's expensive. $299, I presume, for the 11-inch, $349 for the 13-inch.
Which I think is what it was before, right?
Yeah, they're not cheap.
A little bit.
And frankly, you want to talk about weight and size. Those things add significant weight to the iPads. I like them. I really the quality on it. Like I said, if I could use the writing app that I'm using on the iPad Pro, I would do that. So that's a nice feature. The only thing I'm curious about, and they did not make mention of this, Apple for a million years has had palm detection on their keyboards. So when you're using your MacBook Pro and you have your palm on the palm rest and they're typing, it doesn't it is able to ignore accidental touches on the trackpad.
Yep.
That has not been the case on the Magic Keyboards for iPad Pro. I would love to know that is a feature that they've added to this. That is the one, because I'm a crappy typist and touch my thumbs on the keypad all the time, or on the trackpad all the time. I would love to know that that's a thing that they've added to this. But we'll talk about the entire package price just for you. Feeling like I'm doing something from Fargo where we can give you the undercoat. The undercoat comes from the factory. You just pay extra money.
That's the aluminum palm rest.
That is right. That's
the undercoating of the iPad family.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Previous Magic keyboards still available, and that's good to know. But no function row or escape keys on those things. So that's only available. The new Magic Keyboard only available. One-time deal, $300 or $350 for the pleasure of using that device.
Yeah, and that's one of my complaints. Is I have an M2 iPad Pro. And I've got the Magic Keyboard, which I like. I do wish the trackpad was bigger, and I wish it had the function row. Almost to the point where I could see, I'm going to keep this iPad for several more years. So it's like, I wouldn't mind that function row and the larger trackpad. Sucks it's $350, but I could probably deal with it and upgrade to it.
Sure.
But I can't.
No.
Which is dumb.
Yeah. Yep.
And just wait till we get to the Apple Pencil, and then we got a whole mess there. Something also ironic, for some reason, the Magic Keyboard Folio, where we're talking about keyboards for iPads, is also available for the 10th generation iPad. It's a different design. It's just the folio, so it magnetically attaches to the back. You get the flat keyboard, doesn't have that hinge where you can adjust the viewing angle and stuff.
Right.
But much like the 10th gen iPad was first with the landscape camera, it has a function row with an escape key. So this is where we get back to the iPad line is still somewhat of a mess. Like, I just don't, well, here's what we're doing for this one, and there's like no idea what they're doing for the next one. It's like, other than, forcing people to upgrade to get other keyboards. But it does have that. It's $249, which is a steal. But this isn't the one you want. You want to upgrade to that other one, but you're going to have to buy an iPad Pro to do it. But that's okay. Right. It's better, which is almost as much as the iPad is.
You read it like you wrote it.
I said it's $249, which is almost as much as the damn iPad.
$349. Crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing.
It would make sense to me, which maybe doesn't make sense to anybody else, that you are getting all the same keyboard features on all of those devices all the way up the line. That makes the most sense. It would feel more unified to me if that was the case. And as we get to Apple Pencil, as you said, we'll talk about unification and what's not very unified up the line there as well. I don't know. Again, I'm happy with what I have. I like the idea of being able to buy that keyboard with the escape keys. Although, again, I'm not doing the majority of my work on an iPad. I'm using it in most cases as a secondary display, or using it, to go on the web, or in the event that I have to do something in Google Docs or Microsoft Word. It's something that I can use for that. But the majority of my writing, as I've said a million times here, is in Highland Pro. And Highland Pro does not yet have an app that is out of beta for the iPad. And, so it just makes no sense. That's not what I'm going to be doing.
Right.
So I don't need the escape keys.
It's need an escape hatch, long way an escape key.
Yeah. I don't need that extra layer, not for myself.
Right.
So,
and speaking of it would be nice to be able to upgrade to would be the new Apple Pencil Pro.
oh, dude,
Um,
I like it
yeah,
so much.
it's like there's things there that if you would use those things, like if that's what you use the Apple Pencil for, which are all art related, be nice to have and would be nice to be able to upgrade to without having to buy a whole new iPad to do it.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that are taking place on these new Apple Pencils, Apple Pencil Pro, as it is being referred to. It is able to sense squeezing, which makes a difference. You have a barrel roll, which for artists is really good because if you're a real artist, you're used to being able to turn a brush a little sideways and have that the brush tip change according to what it is or the way it is that you're turning it. So it has barrel roll, which actually makes a difference in the way the brush on the iPad is working. It has some haptic feedback. I love this one. Find My support.
Hey,
I've lost a pencil or two over the years. And one was because somebody was kind enough to steal it. But you have now Find My support only in the Apple Pencil Pro. And by the way, and here's the kicker, boys and girls, it only works with the new iPad Air M2 models and the iPad Pro M4 models.
Yeah.
So no backward compatibility, no ability to, use that with my M2. Not that I, if anybody saw my art, you would know that it doesn't matter what kind of pencil I have. It could be a rock. That's
rock painting.
Yeah.
No, we're not painting rocks. We're painting with rocks.
Yeah, that's about, that's wall scratching. That's about what I'm good for.
Right.
But man, the Apple Pencil line now, let's talk about this. Apple Pencil Pro for our iPad Airs and our iPad Pros.
Yeah, the new news.
Apple Pencil 2nd generation. Compatible with, and by the way, if you go on Apple's website, you can see all the details here. Compatible with iPad Pro 12.9 inch, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generations. iPad Pro 11 inch, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th generations. iPad Air 4th and 5th generation. iPad Mini 6th generation. So that's the 2nd generation Apple Pencil. That's actually the one that I currently have. Apple Pencil USB-C. What the actual frig? Notice I said a nicer.
That's good. Didn't have to edit that out.
Yeah.
Or beep it.
Dude, I do not understand this one. This one is still.
Yeah, so that's the one that debuted with the 10th gen.
Yes, exactly right.
And people were like, "That's kind of weird."
So that I don't know.
So the funny thing is, it's the cheapest.
It is. It's $79,
and it looks to be the most compatible.
Yeah, it covers every single one. You can pretty much use it. You could use it with your M4 iPad Pros, your M2 iPad Airs, your iPad Pro 12.9 inch, 11 inch iPad Air, iPad Mini, iPad. So it's for everyone.
Right.
It is the everyone
pencil for the people.
Does not charge in any other way but being plugged into USB-C, which is dorky. But I thought that was dorky. That's as good as charging your wireless mouse underneath. So
yes.
Use
yes,
this
it is.
stupid thing. So, I don't know.
Right.
There are genius engineers at Apple's in Apple's back end, and then there's some people that you just want to kick. And then we have the 1st generation. So
Which has been around
Apple
forever
Pencils
now, which has the lightning connector, and that one got picked on too when it first came out because you had to plug it into the lightning port at the bottom of the iPad and it would stick out like a spear. And but that one's still around. $99 for that one though. And the story apparently is because they moved the cameras to be landscape. And it's at the top when it's hooked up to the keyboard or attached to the keyboard. and the pencils would be placed up there to charge, that they had to redesign the interior of the pencil to work around the components for the cameras.
Yeah. So
I
the
get
charger's probably on either side. There's probably a little gap in the middle or something.
Right. Yeah. And, but again, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a mess.
Let's talk about this in a little bit of context here. So Apple has removed a thin piece of plastic from their packaging, which has cute little Apple logos on it for the sake of saving the environment. So I just banged my mic to put air quotes, scare quotes up in the air. And yet we had 4 frigging different types of Apple pencils that are plasticky that you're going to have to toss in a couple of years, because
incompatible keyboards.
So there's a lot of, on the surface, we're very environmentally friendly and we're carbon free. Great. I appreciate that. I'm grateful for those kinds of things.
And I think they mean it when they say that.
There's no doubt about it. But when it comes to the actual broader details, that you cannot interchange keyboards, you cannot there's a way of thinking that is not as environmentally friendly as it could possibly be. And these are throwaway pencils.
Oh yeah.
That's the reality.
Yep.
If you either upgrade or the battery dies in one of these things, there's no battery replacement program that I'm aware of for the pencils. So you're talking, I wish it was a more unified environment. I get what you're saying, that the design of the new iPads with landscape camera determines a little bit about how these things are going to work. But man, I'm looking at 4 pencils here. 4.
Right.
When it would be nice. 2. Okay, great. You have one for the new Gizmo that has all sorts of features, but I just wish that there was some way for them to think about this in those terms. That would be a much better way of thinking. And more environmentally friendly, I think.
Yeah. And again, the stickers, I don't care if they get rid of the stickers. I haven't done anything with the stickers. And I think that the thing with that was just that statement was like, as the kids would say, and I don't really like this word, but cringy. Because it's just like, oh, look at us. Look how good we are because, we care so much. And it's like, well, just get rid of the stickers. You don't even have to say anything about it. Just get rid of them.
Right. And you know what? The other thing that they did a couple of years ago is they got rid of chargers.
Right. And the other thing they did is they went to that crappy fine woven stuff and they touted that too. And that doesn't seem to be holding up too well. And it sounds like they're going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But I don't care that they try. I think it's great they tried other things. Yes. And again, like we said, I think they're sincere in wanting to, be as gentle on the environment as they can be. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I do.
But it's just some of those silly statements that, well, we're taking the stickers out and look at us, how noble we are. And I'm like, get out of here. It's a little bit of,
patting your own back.
Right.
On stuff that could be, you could think.
Now, you can send your pencil back to them and they'll recycle it, I'm sure.
They will do all that with all their devices, which is lovely. Free of charge, by the way. They'll make it so you can send it.
And so some of that, in full context, is it a super big deal? No, I think from consumer side, it's annoying that, I can't upgrade one component without having to upgrade them all if I want to go to the new stuff.
And by the way,
and how much is the new stuff, Jeff, if you decide to load up?
Good. Okay. So,
I say we weren't going to be cranky today. Look at us.
Alrighty. So, Tom, I want a new iPad Pro.
Okay.
I want nano texture. I want it in space black. That doesn't cost me anything extra. I want only Wi-Fi. I don't need cellular. I got one with cellular once a while ago, and it was absolutely useless. Don't need it engraved. Those things are free. I want the new Apple Pencil Pro. And again, no engraving. And I want to add the new Magic keyboard in black. By the way, reminder that you can only get the nano texture with a device that has a terabyte of storage. Tom, how much am I paying for this? Or 2, right? A minimum. I'm sorry.
Go big.
A
quote yours out with 2 terabyte. Let's go.
Oh, you want me to?
Well, you're a professional. You should have the very top of the line.
I'm a professional who doesn't use any of the storage on his iPad. Okay, I just did it. I just bumped it up to 2 terabytes. 2 terabytes of storage. Tom, how much am I paying for the pleasure? Any idea?
I'm going to estimate that you are paying somewhere around 4/5 of a Vision Pro.
How much was the Vision Pro again?
Oh, God, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, great.
Thanks, $3,500.
The price is, Tom, that I can have all of this for the very, very low price with undercoating of $2,877.
Was that with the new pencil too?
That's with the new pencil, Tom.
Wow.
$2,877. Now, listen, I'm not I'm not using this iPad for anything professional. I'm not. There are a lot of things that you could do with this now.
Yes.
You've got the ability to do Final Cut Pro and a number of other things. And Apple is actually, we didn't even touch any of that stuff, but to that kind of software, they have added a number of really interesting things that make it possible for those kinds of creative people.
Yeah, nice updates for Final Cut and Logic we talked about.
Yeah. A lot of really good stuff there. I'm not that guy.
Same.
I'm not doing any of those kinds of things. So I definitely don't need this. But man, dude,
it's a lot.
$2,877. That's a lot of money.
And I feel like we are once again at the point where we say they've got to be putting all of this horsepower into it for something.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we've said this for 5 years at least, particularly since they put the M1 in for the first time, right? Because they did that. Right. We're like, wow, that means, man, they're really going to beef up iPad OS and it's going to be whatever. And so now we've went M1, M2, skipped M3, went to M4, which is a significant increase over M2. So I feel like we're at that point again where it's, I don't know. I watched MKBHD's recap video last night, and he's like, so yet again, we've got a spec bump, and at the end of the day, it's still an iPad. And I think we're waiting again to see what comes in June with the developer conference. And
telling you, if, and it feels like there's no reason that this could not be done. In some fashion, I'd love to see some version of macOS.
Yes,
on those iPads. That would be kind of a game changer for me.
Of course, the push there is people say, "Well, if you want a Mac, get a Mac." And it's like, well, I understand that, but friction comes with that for me. And I think in our last episode, we had Chris Freitag on. And he mentioned the same thing because it's like, well, do I want to use this device or go to that device? And it was just, it's like, well, I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm just going to use my Mac. And I think he is getting a new one. But, and I agree with that. And I think the other thing that comes with that is like, well, they'd lose Mac sales. And I think that maybe, probably, I think you can say it's almost definite that would happen. To what degree is hard to say. I pitched an idea to you this week. That sounds like you hated, but I pitched it.
I hated a part of it.
Right. That Apple being a services company, and that seems to be the fastest growing section of the business, should have Mac OS as a service. You make it an app, you run it, it comes up in some type of virtualized environment. You pay so much a month for it. I put that on Threads too, and nobody really ripped me, so I don't think it was a terrible idea.
I ripped you.
Well, you did. But I said there I would pay a not insignificant amount of money per month for that.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I could do that and if it worked and I could have just the one device, because think about that. You hook your iPad up to your external display. You've got your keyboard and your trackpad. You've got Mac OS running as an app, we'll say, to simplify it. And then swipe back and forth between the different apps. So if you want to get out of that, so it's not like a boot camp situation on the Macs for a number of years where you could run one or the other. You could just switch back and forth. I'd pay for that.
Yeah, I would pay for that too.
And again, it wouldn't have to be $5. I don't know. I think I said to you, I'd pay 50.
You suck.
Well, I do. But just to have that, and even if it's something I didn't need all the time,
right?
It closes that gap. I don't think they're ever going to do it. I mean, even with the iPad sales down, it was still what, $8 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money.
What?
And then the Mac, being what it is, but I don't know. There's still, and I love my iPad. I'm not going to pretend I don't. Like, it's the thing I grab at the end of the day when I'm on bed. I'm reading, harassing you through messages, whatever it is, just because it's more comfortable to use. Like, I can take it off the Magic Keyboard and I'm just holding the tablet.
It's very versatile for that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But as I've told you, it's I don't want a real TV in my kitchen or anywhere near my kitchen or really anywhere downstairs. But I do like the idea of being able to watch, soccer while I'm cooking something at night, or to be able to have it nearby, to be able to look at a recipe or something like that. Those are good. And that's an absolutely great use for me for the iPad. I use it for that all the time. As we said with Chris last week or 2 weeks ago, it's still for me a consumption device. I occasionally edit photos on it. I occasionally, do some other stuff, but presently it is a consumption device. I use it to play Radio Paradise in my, out of my my HomePods while I'm writing. That's a thing I do. But yeah, I would love to see some kind of crossover. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Whether or not I want to pay $50 for it, I don't know. But.
Maybe here you go. Maybe they could treat it like the pencil line and have multiple tiers. You could have, here's a Mac that will run like a MacBook Air. Here's one that'll run like a Mac Studio. Pay $50, $79, whatever you want, and we'll add it to your Apple One bundle. See, I'm a services guy, JB.
Yes, apparently now. The other thing that I think Apple is reticent to do is they've always been a little reticent to have a touchscreen Mac.
Yes.
And I think there's something somewhere in the Apple backend engineering universe and principles, put that in scare quotes too, that we just not going to have a touchscreen Mac. I'd like to see that change culturally, but whatevs.
Right. Yep. Okay. So I think takeaway, we've discussed the pencil situation, which is a little confusing. We've complained about the upgrade path, which is expensive. The products themselves, thankfully, I think are going to be great.
Oh, they're brilliant.
Right?
I think there's no
that
question.
M4 is going to scream in that thing. The OLED display is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's the best news, is that the products are still very, very, very good.
Yeah, they are. There's no question about that. And we confess wholeheartedly that this is an Oscar the Grouch session. There's much to be pleased about. Those new iPad Airs kill. And frankly, I don't know that I need an iPad Pro, and I could have the Apple Pencil Pro with that. So So there's definitely that's definitely there. And the new Apple Pencil, again, I'm not going to be using it for anything other than having it.
To their credit, they put Pro on the end of the pencil and didn't increase the price.
Yes. So
that was good.
It's really, really great products, really something to be pleased about. And I would say, hey, Celsius 7, you were thinking about using upgrading. That iPad Pro might be right up your alley for what it is that you want to do. So that's a thing to think about, rather than getting a a MacBook Pro. That might be the key. So there's a lot you can do music-wise on there. So yeah, they're brilliant devices.
Yes.
We've been bitching. Sorry.
Well, I think it's been balanced.
It's a cranky old man club.
So I think there are some legitimate complaints, but I think at the end of the day, they're great.
Yeah,
albeit
100%.
quite pricey, but it's Apple.
Buried the lead.
When
we buried the
hasn't
lead.
it been? And I think that's it. We ran long on this one, but I think
That's
it was,
okay.
it was worth it.
Reasons to run long.
Right.
So, we appreciate you guys hanging out, having a nice conversation with us, or at least listening to us converse with each other. Reminder that there is the new feature that you can, if you look at the show notes, you can send us a text message that we can't respond to directly, but if you put an email address in there, we can email you back. As always, feedback@basicafshow.com. You can always get us there. We're always happy to hear from you, and we do respond. We also noticed this last week that we didn't know that there were people saying nice things about us on Spotify.
Yep.
That Spotify didn't notify us about.
Yeah, so we apologize for the super long delay in response on that.
Yeah. But grateful for that response, and we'll pay attention to us. As always, show music by Psychokinetics, fronted by Celsius 7. Highly recommend that you check out that music. And Randall Martin designed for our artwork, our main artwork. And we are grateful to both for all the awesome work that they've done for us. So
yes,
please check them out, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Tom, we tore up another, I don't know, how long did
50?
we actually go?
About 50?
50 minutes.
50 minutes. It's like old days.
Yeah.
When we first started the show. But
we apologize.
Yes. So we do, as always, we sincerely do appreciate you hanging out with us, spending time. I know there's lots of options for these types of things, and that you'd want to spend some time with us. It means a lot, and we do appreciate it. So thank you yet again. So until next time, hope you have a great rest of your day, rest of your night, and we will catch you then.
See you.